Yo, and we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to jump right into Fox News, and let's go ahead and decode the propaganda that they're about to spew to you right now. And then we also got a lot more other concerning topics to get into as well. But let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, and let's jump right into it, guys.
Fox News alert. Do we have a deal?
We're doing well. Now we have to get what we have to get. If we don't do that, we'll have to go a big step further. But with that being said, they want to make a deal. We've had very good talks over the last 24 hours, and it's very possible that we'll make a deal.
Here's the sad reality. We got to make a deal because we couldn't commit to Project Freedom because there was no way we were going to either escort or give a guided route for these vessels to go through that would assure their safety. We just could not do it. So we pretty much just went back to the negotiation table and said, all right, let's see if we can actually get a peace deal with Iran, since we can't open the strait by military force and we can't guarantee safe passage either.
The president says if they don't agree, the bombing starts at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Now, I know we've heard that before, but sources say an agreement has never been closer, and morale at the White House is through the roof.
I can tell you that
but an agreement isn't coming closer because we're threatening to bomb the crap out of them. An agreement is coming closer because we've tried everything. We realize nothing is working, and we're going to have to come back to the negotiation table and make some concessions. That's just the sad reality of how this war is playing out.
I was walking around in and out of the building yesterday, seeing a lot of action in the Situation Room with negotiators, and it looked like the mood was high.
POTUS told PBS that the Iran war has a very good chance of ending, and told Fox that this could be wrapped up in a week.
Well, I had a phone call with the president a short time ago, and he is optimistic about this deal, this memorandum of understanding. Thinks it is going to lead to things. He's cautiously optimistic, I should say, but thinks. And I asked him what the time frame would be. He puts it at a week, getting everything wrapped up.
So what's in this deal? This is what we're hearing. Iran must swear off ever having or seeking a nuclear weapon.
No, actually, what's in the deal is that there's going to be a 10 to 20-year memorandum, aka they're going to swear off not going towards a nuke for 10 to 20 years. AKA Trump is pretty much just kicking the can down the road, and they're agreeing to do this if we release the sanctions on them. Pretty much we're getting back into the JCPOA, basically.
Cold turkey. Their three main nuke sites must be completely dismantled, and they can never do any work like this.
And guys, come on, man. Be fair to Jesse, man. He got a war to sell, man. What you mean? They pay him millions of dollars to sell you a war. You know, you got to respect the hustle. I'm playing. And guys, let's make sure we're double tapping that screen and liking the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen.
Ever again underground. If they start digging, we start bombing. Inspections on demand, anytime, anywhere. If they throw up roadblocks, harsh penalties. Now, here's the key piece to the deal. No more enrichment. And they hand over all of their enriched uranium. We get it. Trump was asked, well, is this a 20-year moratorium? Trump said, no, never.
But you just said never. No, that's the thing. Okay, no, guys, they're not agreeing to never enriching uranium. What they're agreeing is to the 10 to 20-year moratorium on their enrichment program, basically getting back into the JCPOA for sanctions relief. And I'm guaranteeing you Jesse's going to leave out the sanctions relief because it just pretty much just saying we're in the JCPOA 2.0.
No more enrichment ever. Iran must reopen the strait, and while they do, we'll relax the blockade. We might unfreeze some of their money, but no sanctions relief until they show they're complying with the deal. A part of the deal's already done.
This is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon because as tough as they are, we want to keep them alive. We want to keep all of you alive. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't. And they've agreed to that, among other things.
This looks nothing like the Obama deal. Getting the uranium out, banning enrichment, destroying their nuke sites, none of that was in the Obama deal. And this is on top of shredding their military. And good luck rebuilding it because we wiped out all their defense factories and steel plants.
Yeah, no, that's not true. They have a lot of underground facilities inside of mountains, by the way. So no, we have not stopped them when it came to their military capabilities. Our own intelligence is telling us that they still have 60% of their navy, thousands of missiles and drones. And let's not forget, these missiles and drones that they have by the thousands are underneath the damn country, underneath mountains that we cannot reach.
But the media doesn't believe any of it.
You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now as you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say they refuse to submit? You don't know that. You don't know what's going on behind
U.S. ships a few days ago.
And
Yeah.
a few days ago is a long time ago. What's not to submit?
Okay, that's funny. A few days ago, a long time ago. I guess if when we're talking about, war, I don't know. I really don't know why Trump said something that dumb. But I will tell you this: the problem is that we tried to test Iran's gangster. We tried to send ships through the Strait of Hormuz. They send kamikaze ships at us, these kamikaze drone speedboats, and luckily, well, thank God, we shot them all up, all 7 of them. But here's the thing, though. You know, that proved that we cannot provide safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz for these vessels. I mean, and here's the thing. We can make sure that our vessels are good. But the thing is, though, we're promising the world, or we did promise the world, that we can ensure their safety. And Iran has made sure to show the world that we cannot. And then also, I mean, what's ceasefire? We're talking about we're firing at speedboats while Iran is firing into UAE. I mean, what ceasefire is going on here? Like, this is a really confusing ceasefire where everybody's firing off.
So they had a Navy with 159 ships, and now every ship is blown to pieces, and their leaders are all dead. So I think we won.
No one really knows what the deal is, and
Okay.
no one knows if Iran's even going to sign it. Neither country.
There's been no regime change, aka their leaders are still alive and they're still running the country, and they're still the same crazy mullahs that we know them to be.
Country trusts each other. They've taken Americans hostage, killed Marines, committed terrorism, and we've ripped.
I'm crying. Hey, nah, shout out to my man Known. He says, any Iranians on a 9/11 shadow commission? Nope. But I can tell you who are. I can give you a group of people who are.
Up treaties and killed the Ayatollah. But the president's being realistic. He says it's still too soon to send Kushner and Witkoff. He'd rather just do it over the phone. Because, as you know, no one can predict what the regime does day to day.
We've had some good talks before, as you know,
Right.
and all of a sudden the next day they're like,
Guys, like, I know I'm seeing some people in the chat saying, but their leaders are dead. No, guys, the Ayatollah, the guy who runs the IRGC, the guy that the IRGC answers to, is alive. He is fucked up, though. I heard he's getting him a prosthetic leg. They burnt his lips, but he's still able to, well, carry out orders and still able to lead. So no, the leadership is still alive. And I'm sorry, but how do you think they're doing negotiations? Like, the leader of their parliament showed up. So yes, their leadership is still alive, sadly, but they are still alive.
forgot what happened.
Today, Wall Street erupted. The Dow shot up 600 points, close to 50,000. The S&P and NASDAQ broke fresh, all new highs. And Brent crude down over $10 a barrel over the last 48 hours.
I thought we'd be down maybe 20%, and we're up. The stock market's higher now than when we started this war.
I mean, no, that's true. The stock market is doing great, but here's a problem, though. Affordability for Americans is doing even worse than last year. So here's the thing. If you try to just sit there and say, oh, the economy is doing good because the stock market's up, no, that's just proving that, corporations are turning a profit. That doesn't equate to the affordability crisis that the American citizen or your everyday American is going through. So, yeah, that's not helping nobody by saying that the Dow is over 50,000, guys. Yeah, doesn't help nobody when it comes to rising gas prices and rising inflation. I wish it did, but it don't.
And I thought oil prices would go to $200, $250. It's at $100 now. And I think you're surprised, and I'm surprised. But even if it went to 200, it would have been worth it.
The bulls are out on the street. Billionaire money managers say they can see victory, and it was worth it.
It shouldn't be a bipartisan issue, right? You have a nearly nuclear launch capable Iran that we've set back in a very dramatic way. They've been the major driver of terrorism around the world. They're a fierce enemy of the United States.
True.
They threaten kind of global shipping, energy, etc. And now,
yeah, but they wouldn't be doing that if we didn't preemptively attack them because Israel wanted to attack them. We wouldn't be here if this war never started. And that's the problem that all the Republicans is going to have to face. When you guys talk about, oh, well, they're closing the Strait of Hormuz, this is an act of piracy. Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing. We wouldn't be dealing with this if you didn't try to blow them up. Well, actually, never mind. You did blow them up. You blew up the Ayatollah. You blew up their religious leader. And then what? You expected them to do nothing? Of course they were going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Of course they were going to attack our Gulf allies. Of course they're going to play asymmetrical warfare that we're dealing with right now because we attacked them. And here's the worst part about it, guys. Worst part about it is they told us they were going to do this before they did it. And once again, we test their gangster, thinking that they weren't going to do it, believing Bibi Netanyahu, thinking it was going to be like 4 days to 2 weeks. And now we're at what, day 68? And the Strait of Hormuz is closed. The regime is still in power. Their missiles and drones are still operational. Like, what's going on here? Because last time I checked, I was told 4 days, and then y'all moved the goalpost to 2 weeks. And now y'all just telling me to don't rush y'all. Or, well, what's the bullshit phrase? Short-term pain for long-term gain? You really think that's working with people? Like, honestly, guys.
President and our military are getting that completely under control. I think we're almost done. I think it's weeks as opposed to many months, or it's a few months as opposed to it's not years. This is toward the tail end of a war.
You know when the fighting's over? The French show up. The Charles de Gaulle aircraft carriers just crossed the Suez Canal and going into the Red Sea. Meanwhile, great news for American sailors. The USS Gerald Ford is headed home after the carrier broke the record for the longest deployment since Nam. The blockade, though, stays until we see the gay Ayatollah's John Hancock.
We have it very much under control. The blockade is unbelievable. The Navy's been incredible. The job they did is like a wall of steel. Nobody goes through. In particular, the Iranians, they're not getting anything through one way or the other. So they're out of business.
Today, the Iranians tried to test the blockade, and it didn't end well.
Central Command says an Iranian. Whoa. Now that is twisting the story. No. We tested the blockade, and it didn't work out for us. We try to tell ships to go through, and their companies called them and said, yeah, don't listen to the Americans. I'm sorry. They're tripping right now. But they're telling us to go through. Yeah, don't listen to they dumbass. They're not even offering you protection. Just stay your ass right there. And boom. So here we are trying to say that, oh, no, Iran was the one testing the blockade. No. We was testing Iran with the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. We try to get ships to go through. They ain't want to go through. Then we try to secure it, and they start sending out speedboats. So, yeah, there is no securing the Strait of Hormuz when it comes to Iran. And here's the problem. We didn't even get rid of all the mines that they let out there. What we were telling people to do was pretty much, all right, look, we cleared out these mines here, go through. And, if you're one of these guys on these vessels, you would be like, well, shit, you're going to give us protection? Because, I mean, what? We're just going to go on to trust me, bro, that Iran's not going to just start flinging missiles and drones at us? Yeah. That's what we want from you. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people just looked at us and was like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Oh, hell no. You're tripping on that one. And guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support.
Flagged vessel attempted to breach the U.S. naval blockade earlier today. CENTCOM says the vessel was warned multiple times before U.S. forces fired on it. The shots came from the 20-millimeter Gatling gun of an F/A-18 Super Hornet that took off from the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier.
The quarantine's already turned around 52 ships. It's airtight. And Project Freedom was showing progress before Trump paused it.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, I'm glad that he turned around 52 ships, as if that helps out anything. Like, please tell me, how does turning around 52 ships help out the gas price? help out the fact that there's a fertilizer shortage? Please tell me, what does that do for us? And, you know, if you're telling us you turn around 52 Iranian shadow fleets, I mean, that's great. But the strait is still blocked off to what we need to get through as well. So putting a blockade on top of blockade, it doesn't really seem to work.
The first 24 hours, 11 ships sailed safely out of the strait. It appears that Trump paused it as a good faith gift to the Iranians so they can save face to get a deal done. Watching the U.S. Navy let every single ship in the world out of the Persian Gulf except yours would have been too much to stomach. The president can always redeploy our guided missile destroyers like the USS Truxtun and throw up another protective bubble if the Persians go back to their little games. These Iranian peace shooters didn't do a thing. The Truxtun has artillery guns on deck, mounted machine guns, surface-to-air missiles, and torpedoes. Plus 400 sailors on board with Apaches and Seahawks circling overhead. Anything the enemy sends out, if it flies, it dies. If it swims, it sinks.
Yeah, and you know, in relativity to our own equipment, to our vessels, yeah, we can protect our own stuff. The problem is, can we protect the oil rigs? Can we protect the other vessels that need to make it through so the global economy can get back to running again? No, we cannot assure their safety. And I mean, I know he's bragging about assuring our own, but that doesn't help out the situation at all. But I mean, it does make it feel good about American military tech, does it not?
Even though we can get ships out, Lloyd's doesn't want to underwrite a voyage under enemy fire. They have to have confidence it'll be smooth sailing. Once confidence is restored, and it looks like that's going to be done diplomatically, we think, we hope, the strait will open and prices at the pump will come down, way down. The Chinese actually helped move this thing along. They had no choice. For the first time since the war, Iran sent a delegation to Beijing. The Chi-Coms put them on a leash and told the mullahs to quit the strait shenanigans and take the deal. A week before Trump meets Xi Jinping.
President Trump has put out publicly and privately messages to the Chinese. Do not help the Iranians right now.
No, what they're doing is securing their oil payments in Chinese yuan. They're making a deal, actually. So no, because it's not about China reigning in Iran, because, well, China can't really tell Iran what to do, be honest with you. But what they can do is try to play diplomat, just like Pakistan did. And Pakistan is kind of more on our side and China's more on their side. And here's the thing, they've been talking to China this entire time and nothing has been done. So the only way to get things, or to get the strait open with Iran, sadly, is to concede on some of our demands or to concede to their demands. And I don't want to do that. I don't want Iran to start running the Strait of Hormuz, but they're already naming it. They're calling it the Persian Gulf, and they're going to go through the Persian Strait. They're calling it the Persian Strait. They claiming it now. Like, they're not going to let it go. And here's the thing. They didn't have it before this war. So now, once this war is over, Donald Trump will be seen as the guy who pretty much not only gave Iran back some released assets, but also gave them the Strait of Hormuz. And how do you think that's going to look for the midterms? Cooked.
Now we're trying to isolate them. We're in a war with them. Do not help them out. So the Chinese are very cognizant of that. They don't want to upset President Trump before this big state visit. So yes, I think that these things are all connected.
Sources say the president wants to end the Iran war before his visit to China, and the Chinese do too. Their economy is starting to crack, and with the strait being choked, they're looking down the barrel of an energy crisis, especially since we flipped their last black market supplier.
It's been a great thing for Venezuela. The people are really happy. They're dancing in the streets because they have a lot of money coming in through the big oil companies that are all moving in. I was with ExxonMobil last night. The chairman was here. And we're talking about Venezuela, along with a lot of them. Chevron, they were all here last night. They all want to go there and elsewhere.
China's lost Iran and Venezuela, and we're wargaming right off their shore. The U.S. Army's been test firing Tomahawk cruise missiles from Python launchers in the Philippines. The missiles as precise as they can be. One source says, if you want to hit a window from a far distance, it lands directly into that window. And the Japanese showing a little muscle. The emperor putting on a show in the Philippines, too, sending some of his surface-to-air missiles in China's direction. So the Chinese don't want any trouble, and neither does Iran. It feels like we're close to a deal. I know it's felt that way before, but as the
Well, yeah, both sides are pretty much saying, you know what, we can get back to the negotiation table. And because both sides are pretty much echoing that, yeah, we want to bring an end to this war finally, gas futures have finally went down from, what was it? It was like at 100. Brent crude was at like 115. Now it's at $99, which is not good, but it's better than 118. And then what? WTI is back around, yeah, that 95, 93, 95 range, but it's way better than that 105 it was at just 2 days ago. So at least we're on the right track, and I can always be happy about that.
president says, we'll see what happens. And this just in, sources say Israel's not really happy there could be a deal. They hate the Iranians, don't trust them, never have, never will.
Nope.
And believe Operation Economic Fury is going to collapse the regime if we remain patient. So the next 48 hours should be pretty interesting. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, it sure will. Next 48 hours. And trust me, I'll be here to give you all the updates. Now, let's get into the next video, guys. And let's make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. And then, guys, look, I know we're going to deal with the Fox propaganda for a little bit more. And then we're going to work our way over to the left and independent media. But in the meantime, double tap that screen, like the video, and subscribe to the channel by hitting that icon above. Appreciate the support, guys.
War with Iran's regime appears to be coming together. News of a potential one-page agreement. President Trump is now touting great progress in the push for peace. And the punch of positivity is already having a fast effect. Oil prices have fallen below $100 a barrel. Markets are soaring right now. My team may pop that up as I'm talking.
Now go ahead and let me go ahead and bring that up for you, mainstream it for some of the guys who are watching horizontally. And guys, you go ahead and watch horizontal for a better presentation. But yeah, this is what the oil prices are at right now. Like I said, guys, before this war, it was at like what, 67. It was at $67 per barrel. Now we're at 99. So the only way gas prices are really going to fall if we can get back to that $50, $60 range. So yeah, we got a long way to go, and hopefully this war concludes, well, tomorrow. That'd be great. But here's a problem. It's still going to take some time for the supply chain to catch up for oil prices to get back to normal. So we're probably going to be dealing with this for the next, like, what, 3 months at least, 6 months at the worst. But all right, let's get back to it.
Talking about it. But it's impressive how quickly that response was. And those oil prices will eventually hit gasoline on the market. I mean, all of this is positive. Let's see how long this holds. Iran is expected to respond within hours. So that deadline on them is tight. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump posted this on his Truth Social earlier this morning. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary epic fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts. And the blockade will remain in full force and effect. Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time. Secretary of State Rubio with this on the military phase of the war. He said this late yesterday.
Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose.
No, it hasn't. And that's crazy because, like I said, our own intelligence have told us that no, actually, they still have thousands of missiles and drones that they have underground. So no, we did not take out their missile defense. If we was to literally try to go in there right now, they still have plenty of missiles and drones to defend us off. Actually, they just proved that they can still have missiles and drones because they just fired a shitload at the UAE and hit their oil refinery, and then they hit them twice. So yeah, that's not true at all, and they've kind of shown that to us in our face.
Purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about. I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury.
And guys, let's be real. Did we not all hear the report of how they pretty much destroyed most of our U.S. bases? Like, yes, Iran destroyed some of our, actually a good amount of our U.S. bases. So as of May 2026, Iranian airstrikes damaged or destroyed over 228 structures. Yeah, 228 structures and equipment at 15 U.S. military sites in the Middle East. Key sites, particularly in Bahrain, Kuwait, and suffered significant damage to hangars, barracks, and air defense systems, with 7 U.S. service members killed and over 400 wounded, according to the Washington Post. And of course, you got the Washington Post, you got the News Republic, and then you got Ynet News also reporting the same thing.
As the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal.
Retired 4-star Air Force General Charles Wald will be with me in moments. First, let's go to Peter Doocy at the White House, where the news is moving very fast. Peter.
Very fast, Harris. And you were just talking about this. We've got the details of this 14-point plan, according to Axios. Under the banner, U.S. and Iran closing in on one-page memo to end the war. We've got these: a 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment, which would be less than the 20-year ban President Trump previously said he didn't like. There'll be limits of 4% enrichment after that.
Wow. So only a 5-year ban. So the U.S. and Iran closing in on a one-page memo to end the war. And this is what they're coming up with, guys. So let me know if you guys agree with this or not in the chat. So let's see here. We got a 5-year ban on nuclear enrichment. Only 5 years, not 10, not 20, but just 5. And limits of 4% after that, when they was at 3.67%, 67. But yeah, they're at 3.67% and under the Obama deal. Ban on underground nuclear facilities. I mean, yeah, but they'll still have their underground missiles and drone facilities, sadly. Vow to never seek a nuclear weapon. Ha! Well, guess what? They already had a religious fatwa already committed to doing that. So like that the old Ayatollah said, and they followed that, actually. So you're pretty much asking them to do what they already were doing. All right, commitment to enhance nuclear inspections. I mean, they were already willing to do that. And end the restriction travel through the strait. Yeah, we'll see about that one. I mean, if we're talking about they're going to release it, open it up, not charge a toll, fantastic. If we can get that, that's definitely a win.
There would be a ban on underground nuclear facilities, a vow to never seek a nuclear weapon, commitment to enhanced nuclear inspections, and an end to restrictions on travel through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump, though, is telling the New York Post it's too soon right now to schedule a new round of in-person talks with Iran. So this is a very high-stakes game of telephone, still led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
I'm not sure it's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat.
We don't know how many Iranian leaders who ordered protesters a couple months ago murdered are still there, but a separate piece of this puzzle is avoiding future slaughter of protesters by arming them.
Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah.
Why is everybody talking about this arming deal like we didn't already try that? You know, that protest, yes, we armed the Mossad and the CIA armed protesters in Iran during those protests in early January. We already tried it and it failed, and now those people are getting executed publicly. And there are about 4,000 of them in jail, most likely awaiting execution. So, yeah, guys, I don't know but if that's the best idea. And according to Iran and the verifiable numbers, only they took out about 3,000 people. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. So why do we want to try to repeat that without knowing surety that they will be able to, take out the IRGC and take out their regime? Because, yeah, I highly doubt it. I'm be honest with you. And I know people say, well, S.E.T, 80% of them want to take out the regime. Well, guys, you got to understand. In an election controlled by the regime, 61 million people registered for that. How much of those 61 million people are going to fight for that regime that they registered to vote in an election that they control? Now, the voter turnout only happened to be about 30.5 million people. 30.5 million people voted in an election controlled by the regime. How much of those people will be willing to join along with Iran to defend their country, or the regime to defend their country, or that government? Do you know? Of course not. So why risk it?
I mean, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns. And when they start shooting them right between the eyes.
And Reuters is reporting in a bulletin that just crossed that the Israelis did not know folks here at the White House were so close to a deal, if that is in fact where we are, so close to a deal. So the Israelis had been preparing to ramp fighting up with Iran until this morning.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Reuters right now. That seems very.
Oh, guys, let's make sure we double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get those likes up by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. Any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements? Feel free to super chat it in. Appreciate the support.
Significant that they didn't know, because in the beginning it was the Roaring Lion operation and Epic Fury. Epic Fury now, State Secretary Rubio told us, is over. Your last quick one.
Yes, remember, Netanyahu and Trump were here at the beginning. Everything was happening together. So it seems like at the end, they are not necessarily coordinating as closely.
Peter Doocy, getting us started. I appreciate you. Thank you. And focus now, retired 4-star Air Force General Charles Wald, former deputy commander of U.S. European Command. Sir, great to have you. I want to start with that bit of news, with Israel and the United States maybe not being yoked as they were at the beginning of the war. Your reaction?
I'd be pretty surprised if the Israelis and the United States aren't in pretty much lockstep. I mean, you hear things in public, but there's a lot of discussion going on. Our main issue in the Middle East, frankly, besides the fact that Iran is so provocative, is the security of Israel and our GCC friends. And I think we need to stick with that. We won't. I don't think we'll waver from that, and that'll be the end state.
Look, it feels like, and we'll set just aside what happened today for a second. When Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Operation Epic Fury yesterday was over, we could get a sense, and that's why you saw reporters really leaning in with questions on that, that perhaps something was on the horizon, and now word of a one-page deal. I want to get your direct thoughts on the strategy that has gotten us here in the last 24 hours.
Well, I think from my perspective, there's two things. One is the security of our friends, Israel, I mentioned, and the GCC countries in the Middle East. That's paramount. And then number two is for the Iranians not to have